we're good.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for jumping in and tuning in. This is the season finale. We are all done. No more National League. Bye bye. And it is good to be out. I'm joined by my friend Harrison, and we're gonna kind of talk. We're gonna break down the match, the season, and have a look forward into next season. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. It was kind of a lax match, in my opinion. But for the first time since I started watching the games in October, I didn't really have any stress. So, I mean, you wanted to win, obviously, to go out on a high note, but um, it was nice to get that equalizer right there at the end, just to not to go out on a sour note.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were bored like the entire match, to be honest with you. I didn't see Wrexham really kind of give a whole lot of energy. Paul Mullen didn't even look extremely, interested in what was going on. But I mean, at the end of the day, they might have all been hungover still.
Yeah, you never know. I'm sure there was a lot of alcohol drunk by all of them, and not just Saturday night. So yeah, that's what I got a text from somebody from Michael Starkey, and he said that he could smell the whiskey coming through the screen. So
I mean, it was interesting there for a while though, because I think Gateshead went up 3-0 at halftime, and then Torquay scored scored a goal, and you're like, this could be really interesting. There's a chance they might stave off relegation. Of course, that equalizer by Elliot Lee kind of put that to bed. But look, they played hard, and I think at least they made it interesting. And you could definitely tell, Wrexham were not as interested in the match as they were.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was actually very surprised to not see some of the normal subs not start, and actually the fact that Jordan Davies wasn't even on the bench or on the starting lineup, that surprised me because I figured for sure he would be out there. But I know, like you said, they had something to actually play for. If all the if everything worked out the way it almost did for them, but I was surprised to not see some of the faces. But I know it is what it is.
Well, Jordan Davies, I mean, Luke Young didn't play either. I think that was a
Yeah,
little bit of a surprise. I said on the pre-match show yesterday, I thought that Parkey would give the some of the subs and squad players a run out because they haven't necessarily played a lot in the run in to winning the title. And when I saw the starting lineups, I was very surprised. I'm like, wow, this is like our strongest squad that we're rolling out there. I couldn't believe it for a couple reasons. One, because we had nothing to play for, and two, like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure these guys are still hungover. I mean, I know still, like, I don't think I fully recovered from last weekend. It's crazy to think that it was a week ago that we actually won the league.
I know it went by so fast. Yeah, for sure. I think um, there wasn't a sense of urgency, which we actually looked good at the beginning because we were threatening a lot, and there was plenty of shots and opportunities, but you have to give their goalie. I mean, he played a heck of a game. He had so
He
many
did.
stops that, I mean, it could have easily, if we would have made the penalty kick right there at the beginning, I feel like that probably would have changed a few, the momentum and stuff, because until they gave up a goal, they were playing really, really strong. And then I feel like if we would have jumped ahead early, like we usually do, I feel like that would have changed the momentum and not kind of given them a chance, and they wouldn't have had that, that feel deep down that, hey, as long as we don't let them score, we have a chance. I feel like that would have kind of put that to bed, and then possibly we could have added a few more, and then that would have been a complete different game. But I feel, you know, I understand there wasn't a sense of urgency because, like you said, we had nothing to play for. But you know, at the end, I'll take the draw on the road. It's a long road game, long road trip, and so it's like you said, their heads probably weren't very focused. I'm sure they wanted to win, but we'll take a draw and just get the season over with and get out of the National League.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Paul Mullen's penalty kick goes in, there's probably I think we probably beat them somewhere 3-4-0 or something like that, right? Like their heads go down and they don't I think that really uplifted them. Look, they created a lot of chances too. Like there was a lot of opportunity for them to score goals and to potentially make this even more interesting and have them more of a shout to actually stay up. The penalty where they they did score but they called it goalkeeper interference. I think that was marginal. It would have been interesting if they would have allowed that. Ultimately, they didn't. But at the same time, I think that they're lucky that they didn't lose the match either, because I think that Wrexham had a couple good opportunities, especially there at the end, to really put an exclamation point on it.
Yeah, there were a couple of passes that were just slightly off where, Ollie got in there or Elliott, one of the two. There were a few runs, and I feel like if, a couple inches one way or the other on passes, then it could have easily had a couple more goals and won the match. But yeah, I felt like when Mullen and Dalby got taken out, there was a little bit of energy brought onto the field, because obviously Palmer hasn't had the season like he did last year. It hasn't been nearly as many goals scored for him. And then you have Billy Waters coming in for the first time the whole season. And, he's anxious to get out there. And I thought for a second he had a goal, but apparently someone was offside. So,
I didn't see that. I didn't see who was offsides, but Ollie Palmer's definitely, I mean, that's going to be a very interesting, I think, conversation for next season, right? Like he's looked a shell of himself for the past 2-3 months. And
just sluggish is what I would think.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like he has the same, pep in his step. Now, maybe he's been carrying an injury. I don't know. I mean, they haven't announced anything. I know in the National League, it's a little bit harder to get some information out because they don't have to. And I know when they go into the EFL, it's going to be a little bit different. There's different protocols on injuries or things like that that I think it'll be a little bit easier for us to get information from. But I mean, he just doesn't look the same player. He does look sluggish and slow, and it's sad to see. And I really hope it's just not age catching up with him. He is on the wrong side of 30. I think he's going to be 34, 33,
something like that. Yeah.
Let's look real quick. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year.
I still think like what it showed at the end of the match, I feel like he still has some speed for him to be so big.
No, he's 31.
And oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought he was a little bit older. But for him to be as big as he is, and he can play it, so aggressive. He's just like everyone says, he's the big body. He's just tough and just beats people around. I think obviously he's going to take more of a beating. If he's the one pounding on people too, his body's still going to take a beating, even if he's the one, pushing the blows towards them. But I feel like he still has speed. It's just his moving around with the ball. It seems like, or it's looked like his feet have been just really heavy on the ground, and it's like he'll make a move, and then his feet are just stuck in the ground, and then someone comes right past him and takes it away. And it's just from watching the series, because I didn't watch any of the matches prior to last September, so I didn't see any of last season's games. But then watching the series, and actually I went back on YouTube and watched highlights of some of those games from the year before. Something about him, I feel like he just had, like you said, more pep in his step, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know if anyone does. But like
Michael Starkey,
it could be an injury.
Michael Starkey said Palmer's rumored to be having off-season surgery to repair a chip in his hip bone. If that's the case, that would explain a lot, because there's all of that explosiveness is not going to come through when that happens, and that could be 100% a thing. I think Mullen is having, I think, some sort of minor surgery as well, I believe, I don't know if it's an MCL, something with his knee. I think it's more of like a scope. It's something very minor, but I think it puts a little bit of Ollie and potentially Mullen taking part in all the preseason friendlies. Hopefully they do. But you never know. It's very, it's going to be an interesting offseason. I was looking through, we have, the good chunk of our squad is under contract for next season. I think that the squad's very good and could definitely compete for promotion into League One, but it's going to be interesting to see how aggressive they go and if they're really trying to to go on the front foot. I know Parkey really wants to strengthen the squad and add players, and hopefully that we look. Rob and Ryan have added to the squad anytime Parkey's asked for something, so I don't see why they're not going to add to the squad now. I just think that the sky's the limit. But who for you is the man of the match for our last one of the season here?
Well, I took some notes, and it honestly, I mean, Lee scoring the goal. I mean, that's obviously the one big positive. I don't think Foster had a bad game. I mean, he made some decent stops, and he really didn't have a whole lot of opportunities. I mean, they played really well on defense, it seems like, and then we made mistakes on some of our offensive, opportunities. But I feel like their goalie, I know you're not supposed to give the man of the match to anyone on the other team, but I feel like he had the best game out of anybody. But as far as our team, Mullen wasn't very involved after, I don't know, maybe the first 20 minutes. It didn't seem like he really did much once he realized like he missed a few shots or they got blocked, and then he just seemed like he wasn't. I mean, he's always trying, but it just didn't seem like he was as aggressive. And then, I mean, there really wasn't any consistency. And honestly, I was trying to keep up and take down some notes, but there really wasn't much consistency other than Foster, which, like I said, he didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to make stops. Right. And the one goal he gave up, we had a defender that let his man by. So it was just, I mean, there was nobody stopping that guy, and then Ben did what he could. But if you have a defender get past, or if you have the offensive player get past the defender, you can't really do much about it as a goalie because you're just kind of hoping you're in the right spot. So, yeah, I mean,
I think for me, I think man of the match for me is Elliot Lee. I think he played well. He was, he put in a pretty good shift. His passes were good. He was in a good position for the goal. Good finish. I think you're right. Nobody really stood out all match. I think everybody had an inconsistent game. So I think for me, if we're giving a man of the match award on our side, I definitely think I would give it to Elliot Lee. I'm not saying, look, at the end of the day, right? Like we're hashing over shit that doesn't matter. If we would have went out and gotten throttled 5-0, sure, we were like, fuck, that sucks. We got throttled 5-0, but Wrexham had nothing to play for. And I give Parkey some props too to roll out his best squad. Is holding the integrity of the season. Torquay had something to play for. Maidenhead had something to play for. He wasn't throwing in the towel there. He was respecting the competition. He wasn't just throwing on a bunch of kids at the end and saying, buzz off, we're out of here. I think we represented ourselves in the National League all the way up until the final whistle. And look, it was great to hear the fans, chanting not one more minute in the National League. Now we actually get to go in and play some real clubs and enjoy some real football for a change.
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't done much research on League Two teams. I know that a lot of the people who have been, loyal fans, mainly the locals, have been those loyal fans through the last 15 seasons in the National League. I feel like they're the ones, since they obviously know, the geography part of the UK and what teams, where they are and stuff, and we can look them up. But as far they know what teams, where they have good, good towns, and this will be a good road game here. And obviously they're like fresh new faces. It's not the same places they've been going to the last 15 years. So they're excited for that, I'm sure, because that makes a lot of sense. And like, new rivals, and hopefully, we can go through this league in 1 year and get promoted again. Because I feel like there's a really good opportunity for that, keeping majority of the squad we have now, like you said, with most people being under contract through at least next season. So I don't know. I'm anxious to obviously get the next season going, because you always hate the off season, especially when you end this season in such a good form. But it'll be interesting to see if we bring anybody on. If anyone goes on loan or anything like that. So it's obviously the big question is what are we going to do with goalie, because the only person on contract through June is Rob Layton. And so the big question is Foster going to think it through and decide he wants to stay one more year, which I'm sure everyone hopes. But we can't blame him for going out if he decides to, because he obviously, has helped us and it'd be a good way to go out. But I think he's enjoyed it enough, and he genuinely seems like this is something he would want to do for another year. So I think it could go either way.
Well, he enjoyed it, but does he enjoy it enough to come back for 46 league games plus the FA Cup plus the FA Trophy and the League Cup? I mean, there's a lot of matches. Now look, obviously he wouldn't play all 65, 70 potential matches that we could have. But it's a long grind next year, right? He came back at a time we needed him. We signed him. He did what we needed him to do. We won the league, and now he could kind of go back into what he was doing if he wants. I know a lot of people do want him back. I think he is having a great time, but there is that aspect at his age. He was retired. Does he want to fully come out and commit to going and playing another a full season, which is completely different than playing a handful of matches. So that's going to, I think, be the biggest piece for him. And then, now that they are out of, now that they're out of the National League and they can sign, a lot of international type players. I mean, this is where things get really interesting, right? Like, are they going to bring any, Robin Ryan potentially going to bring any young American talent in there? Are there any big names that are maybe towards the end of their careers that could add a ton of value? I know Gareth Bale's name's been mentioned. They said that, he did say turned it down. I take that with a grain of salt. I think Gareth Bale, if he does play for Wrexham, he doesn't want to go through maybe a whole season, or he doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to go through, a preseason either. So I think that we have to take that into consideration. But it's going to be real interesting to see how the squad develops and ultimately the buzz that Wrexham have when they come over to the United States this summer.
Yeah, and I'm anxious to see how that goes. And like the 7-on-7 tournament, is that have anything to do really with our squad, or is that just going to be a bunch of people for? Okay, that's what I've had trouble figuring out. I didn't know, because I was trying to understand all these other teams, and there's a girls team. I'm thinking, I don't know how that's even possible, how that's going to work out. So I was really thrown off by that. But okay,
so that has nothing to do with the preseason tour. Okay, there's more dates. Oh, excuse me. There's more dates to be announced. More cities. So I think Wrexham will have somewhere between like 4 or 5 games in the U.S. preseason, and then it's off to League Two to kick off the campaign. And look, that league's just as important as getting off to a high flying start. There's a lot of matches next year. There's a lot of games. There's going to be injuries and attrition and things like that. And Wrexham are going to have to, I think, in some instances, adjust and prepare. It's going to be a different animal than the National League. Obviously, I don't think that we're going to be able to run through the league like we did this year, potentially. But you never know. I think there's a good shot that we can actually get promoted right back. And I think we can get automatically promoted. Can we win the league next year? Why not? Let's do it. That was fun, right? But at the end of the day, top 3 is all we need.
Yeah, for sure. I think they all enjoyed that a lot. And one thing Ben Foster had said was, in his 20 years in his career, he said he's only been actually on the winning team, or who held the trophy up 3 times. So he said this is really special, and it's hard to do, especially because you have most leagues, you have the 2 or 3 automatics going up. So yeah, I think we have a good opportunity next year. And whoever they can bring in, whether it be another goalie or some, like you said, maybe an American comes in, which I could see that easily happening. I'm sure that they'll do their due diligence and make sure he's the right fit for the club and the right personality and the right type of character and stuff, where he's not going to come in and just kind of put a stale taste in everyone's mouth, because I feel like they don't want that. They don't want someone to come into the atmosphere that's already so incredible and so special. And
right.
These guys are brothers. I don't think they're going to bring someone in who could potentially mess that up. I just feel like they'd have to make sure they fit perfectly.
Sure. I mean, but I think we basically look at it as, right, who's untouchable in the squad. Obviously Mullen, Tozer, Mendy, Aaron Hayden, probably when he's fit, Elliot Lee. Other than that, is anybody untouchable in that squad? Not necessarily that we're going to get rid of them, but are they untouchable in the aspect that they that they won't. No, there's not a chance that we could bring somebody with more quality in. Eric says now that we're out of the National League, finishing first would be great, but moving up is the main goal, and we have a good shot to do that in our first year with the squad we have. I agree with that. I think the biggest piece is does the team, and the ownership, do they strengthen the squad, or do they roll? Look, I think there's always a danger when you say we had 111 points, let's roll with the squad we have. I can see why we would say that, but I can also see some danger there. You need to bring in more competition for places as we go up the league table. I think that there's some players out there that they could bring in and potentially create, some excitement for. There's probably a little bit more depth that we could offer. But at the end of the day, I know Parkey wants to strengthen the squad, and if the manager says, "Hey, we can get promoted next year if we strengthen in these areas," and the owners back them, I have no doubt that we're going to do that.
Yeah, I saw something. I don't remember exactly what it said, but you might have seen it too. I think I read somewhere where it said like it's requirements as far as certain players and stuff you have to have on the squad. I think I read something that you have to have 5 players from either your town or from your country that and it's like a certain age or something like that. Like there's just more regulations on as far as what players and where they're from. And I know you've probably read more than me, but as far as who you can sign and stuff like that. But I read something about that yesterday, and I should have wrote it down, but
well, I know that you have to have a certain amount of the squad as English players. I'm not sure what that looks like in League Two. I know from the Premier League, I think in the 25-man squad, you have to have, I think it's 15 English players or something like that. If someone's on and they know right offhand, they can put in the comments. I don't know that one offhand, but I don't remember exactly what it is. But it's not that it's more restrictions. It's just you have to have the right balance if you're going to have. Now, look, you can have 25 English players or, teams from the UK and Ireland. I believe you can that counts. You just have to, it's the international squad and players that you bring in. And that's where you have to have that difference. But that's a good point. I actually don't know what that is. I really don't. I don't understand exactly what that is. I haven't really looked into that yet.
Have you seen like how much is funded? Because I know it's a big difference. They said it's one of the big perks of moving into the league. You get more funds, or even if you get, I don't even know if really you get any in the National League, but you get funded a good bit more.
Yeah.
So have you seen that number?
There's no funding in the National League like that, but there is, the league has profit sharing and TV money and things like that, whereas they don't have that in the National League.
Is there any kind of salary cap?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I know that's what kind of dominates sports over here, so I wasn't sure exactly what their rules were.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that and talk more about it, but I'm not seeing it real quick off the bat, and it's not something I want to pull. Clubs in League Two shall be permitted to name up to maximum. Here we go. Got a couple people commenting. Clubs in League Two shall be permitted to name up to maximum of 22 players, of which a maximum of 8 must be homegrown player. That's from the EFL website. Yeah, I was trying to look it up. I just didn't see it real fast. Thanks. That helps a lot. So there you go. We have to have 8 homegrown players. So there you go.
So is that from Wales or from the UK?
I think it's through the club. I assume.
Oh, meaning like they come through the under 18 team or something like that, or
I believe so, unless homegrown is just from the UK. Yeah, okay. Gary says the UK. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Sometimes it can mean different things. So yeah, I thought it was the UK. That would have been really weird. Really weird. Yeah, it must be British players. So that's easy, right? Right. We're going to have that in the 22-man squad. Now it's just going to be interesting to see who they bring in that are international players and from other. That's where things get real interesting, and how they can expand and grow the team and make the squad stronger. They can bring in people now from outside of the UK and Ireland that from the National League. They didn't really have that ability. So really excited there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's from what Gary said, that makes it seem like it's a lot easier to be done already with who we have. And it'll be interesting to see who we try to bring on, because, and like you said, maybe send someone out on loan, or because there's a couple of the young players who I feel haven't had an opportunity really, especially Max Kluworth. And I was listening, I don't know if it was you or someone else that I was listening to the other day, and they were saying one thing about him: he has so much potential, but he needs to play, even if it send him on loan for a year or half a year to a
Right.
national league team or something like that, just so he's constantly playing. Because if superstars have to play, and if he's as good as everyone's saying he is, he needs to play, not just on the reserve team. He needs to be playing in competition. So
Oh, I'm sure.
I feel
I'm
like
sure. Well, that also you get a little bit more exposure and things like that from being in League Two, and you're able to send players to the National League on loan, and that's something that they might actually start to consider. Look, they can also get the other thing that Wrexham are going to be able to do now is get players on loan from potentially the championship. Younger players or players that are developing from the championship, League One, potentially even you know lower level Premier League teams. That's not as fluid that happens, but that's something that opens up a little bit more, especially if they go into League One. The players they can bring in on loan that can help them with promotion and moving up the ranks is something that really is more expansive with the revenue streams that they're going to have getting out of the National League. So that's a big thing too.
yeah, for sure. And something else I heard on, I think, Rob Ryan Red, they'd mentioned maybe possibly getting a goalie from a younger goalie who's coming up and has a lot of potential, and possibly bring him down from like maybe the championship league, and have him as our the understudy to whoever is the starter right now, or at least for next year, and see kind of if we could develop him into being a really top quality goalie. So like you said, there's a lot of different aspects of being in the league now, and a lot of different things that come with that compared to how it was in the National League, as far as the rules and how everything works. So I'm
Well,
sure we'll do something.
at the end of the day, I think they're waiting for Ben Foster, right? Like Ben Foster is going to be who they wait on, and
Yeah, for
see
sure.
if he says yes. If Ben Foster wants to come back, I think that's where they're going to go. Probably they might go Ben Foster and Rob Layton. I don't know. I mean, next year. I mean, look, Layton was our number one, and he's been dealing with injury issues. And he came back, and I think he played against Sheffield. Was it Sheffield or Coventry? One of the two, and he played well. So I still think he has the talent. So there's definitely the possibility they could roll if Ben Foster comes back with Foster and Layton in goal. And look, that would be great.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think Layton's a great goalie, but like everyone says, they feel like he's made of glass, and that's not his fault. He can't really help how his body reacts to hitting the ground or whatever. And the luck he's had against Bromley, at Bromley, the last either 2 or 3 seasons, he's had some sort of injury. It's just I thought when I saw him in the lineup for the Bromley game, I was thinking, he'll be fine. Or actually, I thought they might sit him, and it just because just out of if it's a consistent thing, and I think it's the grass or the turf that they have there, it just doesn't work for him well. And he seemed like he was fine. And I thought, okay, they're not worried about him getting hurt. They're just going to trust that he'll be fine. And of course, he tweaks his knee or something, and I just feel bad for the guy, because he's a great goalie, and I feel like he deserves to be out there. But I know it works out the way it works out. And luckily, we were able to bring Foster in and help us, secure the title. But yeah, I feel like if they're going to leave that window open for Foster as long as they can, I think, knowing that Layton's still going to be there, they have him locked in, and then whatever Foster's decision, they'll just, if he wants to stay another year, then that'll be great. And if not, I'm sure they'll try to figure out something, whether it be keeping, someone, either Mark Howard or one of the younger guys, or trying to find someone else to bring in.
Jermaine says, I would take a new goalkeeper because I think Layton is fragile. I think that there's definitely something to be said to that. I don't think that they can go in with Layton as their number one next year. 2 or 3, I think he can be valuable to the squad, but I think there's a lot of nerves going in if he goes into number one as number one. But look, at the end of the day, Wrexham are champions. We've won the league. We are out of the look. The number one thing I'm so happy about, I don't have to watch another shitty Vanarama National League streaming match, because today was dog shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was awful. It was cutting out. It was lagging. It was skipping. It's just awful. And I'm just so happy we don't have to do that shit anymore.
It froze up right as Ollie was making that pass to Elliot Lee before the goal. It froze up, and I'm listening to it through the Wrexham player. So I'm listening to Mark Griffiths and all his boys. But it's just, because you hear what's happening on the call, and then because I'll have my TV muted, you'll hear what's happening, and then it'll freeze up, and then you're just kind of waiting, and then it'll catch back up, and something's already happening. You missed it. You didn't get to see it live. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to not have to deal with that. I'm thankful that we had that opportunity, that access to that instead of just listening to it every game. But yeah, definitely would be excited about getting quality footage or quality feed that won't be all staticky and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. That'll be a lot better. And like you said, perks of moving up, you get better stuff. So
yeah. Onwards and upwards. Hopefully at some point we're sitting over here watching NBC Premier League mornings and seeing Wrexham, taking on some Premier League boys. But we've got a few stages left to go. The focus is on League Two and getting into League One. And look, the sky's the limit for this club, and I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm glad the season is over. It was really weird watching a match and not that I didn't give a shit, but I didn't care, right? Like, oh, we win, we lose. Guess what? We're champions no matter what happens today. So it was nice to not have any, no nail biting going on when you're watching this match.
Yeah, it contradicts what I said earlier as far as why you realize it, because if you're from America, we don't have that every game counts, mentality. Our fans aren't screaming, going crazy because we're not worried about getting relegated.
Right.
So it's, I said every match counts, every minute, every second counts of every match. And except for this situation when you already win and you have games remaining, and then you're like, well, we're going to try to do good, but it is what it is. So we don't have that pressure, which is nice, which part of me thought we might blow them out because we don't have pressure, but it is what it is. I mean, we're going through, we're going up.
Gary asked, what are your thoughts on promotion relegation? I love it. I hate MLS because it doesn't have it. I think MLS is boring as hell to watch. I think that they should have promotion relegation. The fact that all you have to do is pay to get into the league and then you're there forever, I think is boring. And it's why I think MLS will never move forward in national soccer standing. I think the popularity of MLS is fictitious in a lot of places because the Premier League absolutely blows MLS out of the water for a lot of reasons. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's not that exciting of a league to watch, if we're being honest.
Yeah. And like I've told you, I was not even a fan of the sport. And I watched the World Cup games and stuff, just watching our country and just the normal stuff like that in the Olympics. But I wasn't interested. I've always played American football and baseball, and I'm a huge sports fan, but I just never understood soccer because I never was around it. Didn't have really any friends that played. So when I saw the documentary, and I think the first episode, it showed the pyramid and how all that worked, that blew me away because it made so much more sense. I had no idea that's how it worked. And it just instantly was like, oh, well, that makes so much more sense now, because that's why they're so crazy and passionate the entire match. And that makes all the difference, in my opinion.
It levels the playing field, man. And it's an exciting. And this is why the next, this season was so much about getting out of the National League. And, now it's just how high can we climb? And that's what we're really looking forward to. But a good start to next season's key. Injuries and staying healthy is key. So let's knock on wood that Wrexham come out of the gate strong, have a great summer, bring in some good competition to improve the squad, and we just come out of the gates firing and pick up where we left off.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, if there's a few more games that's going to be announced for the U.S., I'll be anxious to see where and who they're going to be playing, because I'm doing all I can to go to the game in North Carolina versus Chelsea, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people coming over for that from Wales. But I appreciate that, Michael. But yeah, I'm excited to get them over
Look at
here and
that. There
let
you
the
go. I can show
Americans.
the question right there.
All
I didn't even
right,
realize I
yeah,
could do that. That's
yes,
cool.
that's nice.
The
That's nice.
cool thing about look like these little, there you go. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. There you go. And then we can give Gary the props. I didn't even realize I could do that. That's pretty cool with this little software. We can share the questions.
Oh,
Huh.
you'll be ready for next season though, for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm excited. I want as many Americans to have the opportunity to see this team and see the fans. And like I said, I'm sure a bunch of fans will come over here and have a chance because some of them have probably never been to America, so they're eager to get over here and support their team and show how much passion and how much support they have behind their club. Because you know it's not like that here. We have a good fan support for our teams here, but it's not the same. I feel like a lot of people just kind of give up if the team's not doing well. But I'm anxious to see the size crowd that comes over here, and also like where those other matches that are going to be announced, where they're going to be, and like I said, who they're going to be against. So yeah, I'm anxious to get the summer preseason going and see what happens, I guess.
Well, the interesting thing there is I have some inside info. I can't share it, but I'll tell you offline where there might be some other matches. And it's going to be good. Look, listen, I'm going to give a big middle finger to the National League. Out of here. We're done. See you guys later. Wrexham are champions. We're going up. Thanks, everyone, for jumping on and watching. Everyone that's listening after the fact. We made it. We're here. And now it's just we're going to have a good party for the whole summer and then refocus and let's do this thing again next year.
I'm all about that. Let's do it. Up to town, as high as they can go. Let's go.
Jermaine said, I just discovered you today and will be with you next season. Is it okay that I'm from Canada? Absolutely. The more the merrier, my friend. The more the merrier. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the shows next year, and hopefully, look, that just from like my perspective, we're working we're working on adding some people to the team. I think we're gonna add some people on the ground in Wrexham to like do some stuff there. Get some media passes, potentially go into some post-match shows and do some player interviews. I'll be in Wrexham. We'll do more shows over there as well. And then doing stuff over here in the US as well during, the preseason and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff coming for the channel and really expanding this to hit the ground running next year and getting more people engaged. So really excited for that. Eric says, don't hold out on us. I already have the North Carolina Chelsea tickets, hoping to come to Florida for the second game. It's not going to be in Florida. I'll tell you that. It won't be Florida.
I'm kind of worried about
they might go to Florida, but I don't know. But the place I know about isn't Florida.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about our boys not being used to the heat. I don't think they want to put them too far south. I'm just saying. No, it'll be good for them. I'm used to it. Obviously, me from Alabama, but I mean, the humidity and the heat is going to be different for them coming over here. So they're going to have to make sure they stay hydrated.
Oh, well, but it'll be fun either way. Excited for the summer. We're going to have a lot of people on. We're going to do some interviews, talk Wrexham for people all over the world. So stay tuned for that. The shows are going to keep coming all summer. This isn't the end. We're going to keep the channel moving. We might do some more live shows just to engage with people, just to have some fun, keep everybody going and excited as news breaks and things like that. So thanks everyone for tuning in and thanks everyone for listening. Up the town, baby.